All right, guys, so we need to talk about digital IDs because they're back again. You know, Tony Blair never really left. Apparently, he's got 800 staff currently working for him in multiple countries, more powerful than he ever was when he was Prime Minister. And you wonder why we keep voting people in power in our country and nothing changes. Well, he is the main, the main architect behind that. And what he's always pushed for is for digital IDs. That's always been his end goal. Ever since I was a young child, all I've heard from Tony Blair is digital IDs, digital IDs. Now, because Tony Blair is such a nice person, I'm kind of surprised that people haven't acquiesced to his demands and gave everyone digital IDs yet. But for some reason, people just don't trust him. I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's a lying snake. Maybe. I don't know. But the problem with digital IDs for most people is because they're not just passports, they're not just IDs. The name is a bit of a misnomer, right? They're not just IDs. They are the control mechanisms that will lock up your movements and your buying decisions and your future travel restrictions or non-restrictions. Let me explain why they're such a bad idea. I lived in China for a while, so I know about this. When you're in China, and this is the model that they're basing it off, when you're in China, you will get a government-issued ID, right? And you will link that to your phone. And then from your phone, that will be linked to your bank account and to your, basically everything. Everything that you use. So restaurants, that will be linked to your digital ID. If you go to a restaurant, you won't order through a paper menu, you'll order through scanning a QR code. That will be linked to your phone number, your digital ID, and the money will be taken automatically. All you need to do is basically scan it and it's gone from your account. Now, if that restaurant decides that let's say the government actually decides that they don't want you in that restaurant. You've done something bad. Maybe your carbon credits, you don't have enough carbon credits this month. And you're not allowed that bacon sandwich. So they put a little red strike on your account, and now you're not allowed to go into a restaurant. You're not allowed to go into the theatre. You're not allowed to go on the planes or the trains. You're not allowed to leave the country. You're not even allowed out of your jurisdiction zone, your little economics bubble that you live in within China, because they've all got these little districts, these little areas that they're all supposed to live in and not leave. The 15-minute cities, guys. The digital ID is what do they call those yobbos that leave prison and they get ankle bracelets, right? So whatever that, it's like a monitoring device, right? A digital ID is basically just an ankle bracelet for each and every citizen. They will be able to monitor every single thing about you. They'll be able to tell where you are at all times, exactly what you've bought, and that kind of behavioral insight into a person's everyday life is terrifying, and no one should have that kind of power. But there are people out there that are trying to make people aware of what this is and what the government are trying to do. One of those people is called Montgomery Toms. He's going out there talking to people, trying to make them aware of what this is. And good luck to that. Trying to talk to young people these days. Probably don't even know where France is.
I do not think it's a good idea to have all of our information in one centralised system. I do not think that we should be able to even trust the government with any information that we have.
Back in COVID times, there was a bit of controversy around kind of like mandating the COVID vaccine, right?
Yes, remember when Piers Morgan was all about the vaccines? In fact, he said that you shouldn't be allowed to work or even go to the theatre unless you were triple vaxxed. So, yeah, there was a bit of controversy around that. He did apologise, though, which is good. Moved on with his career, moved on with his life. He's forgot about it now. Don't worry about it.
And one of the concerns with that is, some venues didn't want people to be let in. My concern is with digital IDs is if that was to happen again, venues would have access to all of your medical information, all of your personal information, and could just stop you from entering places. Do you feel that that's okay?
No, because this country has always stood for freedom. We're supposed to have freedom of expression, freedom of identity. This can cause a lot of problems, not even just for adults, but younger people.
It's not just that they'll be able to control where you go. A lot of people are just worried about, they'll be able to control where I go. No, guys, they'll be able to control everything. They'll be able to see how much food you've eaten and what kind of food, and whether you've like I said, if you eat a certain kind of food and it's got too much of a carbon, like let's say it's steak, right? You eat some steak. Well, your carbon credit balance, or whatever the government will introduce to make sure that you don't basically do the things that is healthy as a human being, they'll add huge carbon credits onto your account that month saying, well, you've had a steak on Tuesday the 13th, therefore you are not allowed to travel on a train this month. I don't care how you get to work, you're just not allowed on a train. You've used too many carbon credits. And it goes from there. It is insidious. And I can't honestly think of the worst things that they can do with it, because I'm not Tony Blair. I'm not a psychopath. I'm not evil. I don't want to control people. I don't want to flood the country with a bunch of migrants to rub the right's nose in diversity, mainly because they had the absolute disgusting foresight to vote for Brexit, which I really wanted. And therefore the EU and myself, Tony Blair, will now punish you forever for going against my interests. In fact, we're going to punish you so much that you'll be begging us for the digital IDs by the time we're finished. Did you see Keir Starmer's new deal with France, where he said, if we bring illegal migrants into the country and one of them commits an absolute heinous act against one of our own, we'll get rid of him, right? Don't worry, we'll get rid of him, but we'll bring in a replacement. So it's forced immigration, no matter what, with future digital IDs basically rubber stamped and waiting in the pipeline. Tony Blair needs to go.
If raising legitimate concerns about thousands and thousands of unchecked foreign males illegally entering our country makes me far right, then so be it.